Good evening. Welcome to the Napoleon Memoirs, where we obsess about Napoleon in a new way. Because I have this strange reality in my life where I'm realizing that my twin flame Napoleon is among the living. I am shocked about it. And the situation is so incredibly bizarre and yet not that different from what it was if we really had been Hortense and Napoleon back in the 1800s, because we had the same exact enemies. And for some reason, we're always fighting the same entities. I don't know if they're angels or fallen angels and we're angels or something, but we're always fighting them. And they're always like demons, and they take different forms. I know we're not programmed to think that these things are true at all, but that's because they're programming us. Yes, our enemies have programmed us to not see them. So hopefully that's getting very obvious. All I can do is continually tell the truth and then prove that I'm telling the truth and to continue to do so. And the more I get into the truth, the more shocking I find it. So my reality is very shocking to me. I can't believe that I'm under house arrest to take some sort of poisonous liquid into my body that's killing people. It's experimental. The pretext, not provable in court in any way that I've seen, and so there's no reason for it. Even if there had been such and such going on, it would be long gone, and there's no injection for that. It's just absurd, BS, and it's clownish and cartoonish, and it was hard for me to even see people get so fooled by it. All I can do is say year after year after year, recognize the publicity campaign, understand that if it just popped up on all of your screens, someone paid a lot of money for it to pop up on all of your screens. And the person who has all the money is the one who can conjure up money out of thin air. And he can bribe everybody, he can pay everybody, he can tell whatever story he wants. So whenever he has his new story that he rolls out on all your screens, think of how it would benefit him, the person that can whip up money out of thin air, from brainwashing and crimes and hijacking our governments or school systems, all kinds of things. So that's our enemy. And that's why we can't. Um, I really don't know his situation other than what I hear telepathically. And I hear a lot telepathically. And I'm just gonna be completely open about this, that I'm having this extremely intense telepathic experience with someone who is, I hope I can talk about it, but who's just trapped. He's just so trapped. And he tells me about his life and what it's like to be this trapped. And it's not even like normal prison. It's prison where you can't talk to people. It's prison where you can't tell the truth about yourself. It's prison where you have to back up criminals, or financial destruction, or physical harm to loved ones. It's mafia. It's mafia, organized crime. He's in some kind of captivity. He's been saying since the 80s he's in captivity. This is not some kind of theory or telepathic experience idea that I'm having. He certainly has been saying for literally decades that he's in captivity. And it seems to have gotten worse over the years. Like things he used to be able to say, he doesn't seem like he can say them anymore. So somehow it's like becoming more restrictive on him. I'm a huge fan of his, just aside from everything else. I'm his biggest fan, I hope. I hope I'm his biggest fan. He's got some other big ones, I know that, but this has to end. We need to be set free. My this is my twin flame Napoleon. Every day I see it more and more, and I knew it was true at first. I knew it was true a million years ago. I know that this is true. I just can't believe it. It's shocking to me. Anyway, so back in the 90s, I found out that Napoleon was nothing that I thought he was. Just like this person I'm talking about, Elvis Costello, Cohen. I like to call him Cohen, King of America, Napoleon Dynamite. It's just the name I like to use for my notes. Weird. Anyway, back in the 90s, I was super into Cohen. I loved him so much. And I was obsessed with Napoleon also. And I saw they were the same. I knew that. I was like, wow, I have a type. Anyway, so that's my type. He's genius, quirky genius. With that personality, I like that personality. I like the way they are. They're sad. They're really sad, but I like it. And smart. Both really sad. And I don't want him to be so sad anymore. I don't want to be so sad either. Set us free, please. Please, everybody, set us free. We can't live like this anymore. It's cruel. We are nice people. We're benevolent people. We want to help. And we can't help. We can just be trapped and hurt. And they throw a lot of traps at us. And he's he's hard to control. He's very hard to control. So they've had to put a lot of effort into tying him up the way he's tied up right now. That took a lot of effort on their part. And I'm sure that's going to be a really interesting story. And one day we're going to find out about it. And right now, if I'm correct in my perceptions, we need to be set free, all of us. We all need to be set free. And it's that witchcraft money situation. And we're all like enslaved. They have an incredible advantage over us that they can create money out of nothing and then have everyone so brainwashed to do anything for money. So it's the two things at once that they have this this banking system that's so such a Ponzi scheme, and then they have everybody so brainwashed to live for money and to be terrified of not having money. And that's how they have this power. So that is how the world is being run by a certain type of witchcraft. And I'm not even saying witchcraft is bad. I'm saying the intentions are bad here. What if somebody does witchcraft to help someone? Well, that's different intentions. So it really does come down to intentions. And I felt many times that they tried to maneuver me into becoming a I don't know, witch hunt type person or some kind of, it's going to be like a witch hunter or something. I'm never going to be a witch hunter. It's the intentions. And look, it's crime. We're talking about crime and abuse. But it's crime. This is not a minor theological issue. This is crime. These are evil things that are being done. Oh my goodness. Anyway, set us free, please, and take the money machine away from them because that's how this whole thing is working. And we're never going to be free as long as that money machine is in the hands of people who want to kill us and imprison us and enslave us. And they basically run all the countries through this money, and then they set us to kill each other because they like to kill us all the time. So they want us to have a war with China, I guess, or they want us to have a war with Russia. Wherever there's like a lot of people they want dead, that's where they want us all to have wars. So it's this century to century thing where they're just trying to find ways to get away with murdering as much of us as possible. This is should be very obvious to everybody by now. I don't know what else I can do to show people the truth. And now I've already moved on, but hopefully we can get free. Now I've moved on to trying to show that Napoleon and Cohen have the same personality. I think they're really close. And when I got into Napoleon in the 90s, I realized that he had a very interesting relationship with his stepdaughter. And before that, I didn't even realize he had a stepdaughter. Who ever heard that he had stepchildren? He was a wonderful stepfather. They don't tell you that because there's this huge psychological warfare being done about the topic of Napoleon. So when I found out that he had this strange relationship with his stepdaughter, I was just so interested in that. And I wanted to find out, was he involved with his stepdaughter? That's really the question I wanted answered. And then once I went to France and I was doing very deep research on it, I started to remember her life. as from my perspective. So I started to say, oh, I guess I was her. I started to like get used to that idea. So I was like, oh, I guess that's why I'm so into Napoleon. But only recently, last couple years, did I realize that they were twin flames and they couldn't be together for various reasons. But I'm sure they were twin flames. And I even have that experience myself of just that incredible longing that a twin flame has. And then I've always been looking for my twin flame. And I did at some point realize it was Napoleon. And it's amazing. So I'm trying to show you in these letters that Napoleon is a twin flame. And I don't know if everyone is, but he's so driven to find his other half. And it's his stepdaughter. And she feels the same way about him, but it's her mother's husband. She's never going to cheat on her mother's husband. She's never going to do that. She just isn't. So because of that, Josephine was a schemer, and Hortense was. She had my personality. She was the same person in every way practically. It's crazy. I'm like the same. Anyway, so Josephine was not exactly like me. Josephine was like kind of a schemer, and she was kind, but she was really like terrified about survival fears, and she had been through the French Revolution, and she had almost been guillotined. So she's just very obsessed with like staying married to Napoleon, and Napoleon is done with Josephine very early in the marriage. He realizes she's not the one. He married someone that's not who he was looking for. And I'm trying to show you this because I think you're going to see this in Cohen's story too. I just have a feeling. I'm just as a fan, you know things about somebody's life. So he realizes Josephine is not the woman that he was looking for, and I think he realizes his stepdaughter is. And I want to read a letter he wrote to her. It's not a love letter. He doesn't write any love letters to Hortense, but if you read between the lines, you can see how enmeshed he is with her. How he worries about her. It's really, this is the person he really loves, and because he can't express it, it comes out in all this like kind of gross playboy behavior. And he's like not even discreet, and and he could have been more. So it's like he acts out that he can't be with the person he loves. It comes out, I think, in almost like a addiction or a love addiction. He has to be distracted from this. It's hurting him too much, and he's the biggest workaholic imaginable. And people who work that much, they're in pain. You know, Napoleon's in a lot of pain. Okay, so this is just a typical letter that Napoleon would write to his stepdaughter, and she was pregnant. And this is going to be his nephew. This is going to be his heir. And Napoleon is the most frustrated father in the world. He's just dying to have children. It's so sad. And they used that against him, and they destroyed him with that. And that is one of the evilest things that they ever did to us. Is what they did to Napoleon about his son. It's unbelievable the evil things that they do. I'm trying to just show you what they do, so you understand what we're up against. We're up. So for him, this is the biggest deal in the world. He's like almost gonna have a child with Hortense. It's really sad. My dear daughter, I was about to write you and ask you to tell me how you were. As for the last month, since Eugene brought me your letter, I've had no news about you. I'm anxious to hear about your health. Your pregnancy may render it far from good. I value your good wishes, and you may be sure that nothing can alter the fatherly affection I have felt towards you from your earliest childhood. Your peace of mind, your health, your happiness, like those of your brother, are among the things which concern me deeply. Write me occasionally. Tell me what is happening to Monsieur le Connétable, whom I never hear mention. Do not forget to give 2 kisses from me to Monsieur Napoleon. trusting the Almighty may watch over you and protect you, Napoleon. Intense. Anyway, so that's how he was with her. He was like crazy about her. We'll keep going, and then I'll do a letter to Josephine, and you'll see how he cools off very fast. And that's my point. Like, Napoleon directs this like twin flame extreme passion at Josephine in these famous love letters, but I don't think they have that much to do with Josephine. And I do think there was a spell involved. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for the purpose of my argument, but it tells you kind of how I view Josephine. She's really out for herself, but she's an aristocrat. She has to come up with some kind of scheme to live and be rich. And she's such a spendaholic. So this is not Napoleon's type. He could appreciate her. And then once Napoleon realizes she's a cheater, he's done with her. He's going to do whatever he wants from that point on. And then she's just so desperate to keep her hooks in him. And she uses her daughter to keep him hooked. She knows he's in love with her. She knows he can't leave her. She's using Hortense. She uses Hortense to keep that marriage going, partially through having Hortense marry his brother. And she completely sacrificed her daughter's happiness. And Napoleon did too. So that was terrible. And then they were like a threesome, not sexually, but they were a threesome in the sense that everybody saw the three of them together. So everybody believed that Napoleon was having a threesome with his wife and their daughter. And it's just what everybody believed. It was like just because they were together so much. So they were a package deal. And then finally, as I have said on this stream, when he did divorce Josephine because he wanted to have his own child so much, and he was very manipulated. He could divorce Josephine, but when Hortense said, "I'm going," he lost it, and he couldn't recover, and everybody saw it. Everybody knew that he was obsessed with her. So it's not as if what they're going to tell you about history is going to be, oh, Napoleon and Josephine, what a love story that he divorced her and whatever. Waterloo, they're going to tell you this ridiculous fake story. The real story is so much more interesting. Okay, so I think the supposition of this is that I'll tell you all about Napoleon, show you all about Napoleon, encourage you, please, to listen to my memoir link and listen to those stories and just listen to what a person he was. He was fascinating, and he was kind. He was very kind. I want people to know what he's like, and now I'm getting to know Cohen, and I'm realizing it's the same person, and I can't believe it. And I just feel so many emotions about it. It's like, I don't even know what to say. Anyway, I'll read this. I had come up from the outskirts of West London, where all you needed for a teenage party was a copy of Motown Chartbusters Volume 3 or the Rocksteady Collection Tighten Up Volume 2. To get the full effect, you had to add a Watney's Party 7, a can of beer, just 1 pint shy of a gallon, and a bottle of Advocaat for mixing with lemonade to make snowballs for the girls because they were dead sophisticated. In my attempt to fit in at an all-boys school in Merseyside, I seemed to never get around to mentioning that I liked working in a coal mine. Thankfully, we were past the usual trials of strength and courage that attend the arrival of a new pupil in a school. The worst of it was me being skidded endlessly about my supposed Cockney accent. As far as I was concerned, I'd inherited the northern A from my parents, rendering glass and grass rather than the southern glarse and garse. My classmate would only hear of me reading my buck in my rum because I didn't say buke or room with a roller R. Ever since, I've been able to change my speaking voice as the occasion demands it. It was all pretty harmless stuff. A couple of us soon found that we shared the common hallowed ground behind the goal of the Cop at Anfield for Liverpool FC home games. The rest of the time, we sat around listening to the new acoustic music coming out of Laurel Canyon. I managed to talk a couple of my new pals out of an unhealthy fascination with the music of Emerson, Lake, and Palmer. A lot of the best music tours came no nearer than Manchester, which was 40 miles away. If you wanted good tickets, you'd have to get up around dawn, sag off school, and catch an early morning train to be first in line at the box office. On one such outing, we saw James Taylor with Carole King opening for him, but either had to miss the final number or our last train home. Occasionally, a tour would play Liverpool Stadium, a dank boxing venue that didn't always have the blood washed off the seats. I once saw Loudon Wainwright III hold the place in rapt attention with just an acoustic guitar and a song about a deceased skunk, but then the place definitely had that air about it. In the early spring of 1791, it was announced that the Rolling Stones were coming to Liverpool to play two shows in one night. This was a month or so before the release of Sticky Fingers, and immediately before they went into the French tax exile that yielded Exile on Main Street. On the day the shows went on sale, I overslept. By the time I got to the Empire Theater, most of the pupils from my school and several others in the inner city were wound around the block, 2 or 3 deep, queuing for tickets. I affected teenage indifference and had the following conversation with myself in my head. The Rolling Stones? Yeah, they're probably past it. And I decided to spend the money I'd saved on a record instead, all of which would be a good story if the record I purchased had been something more inspiring and enduring than Volunteers by Jefferson Airplane. It's so funny. All right. Well, thank you for listening. I appreciate it.